the home of the Mallee Stump. And rippin' good footy, the Mallee Football League.
Yes, it is time for us to head to the Mallee. And I tell you what, just tapping in to see if we can find our very, very gifted man who last week was not able to play finals footy himself. None other than Ben Hooper. How are you, Ben?
Really well, thank you, Flow Man. How are you going this evening?
Very well. Well, it's happened. It's finally happened. Pinaroo have broken the ice, and everybody out there in Superoo land has been celebrating all week, and they've beaten BDT, their arch nemesis, and they are thrilled.
Oh, they certainly are, and thoroughly deserved. They've been building to this for a couple of years, and 20-year drought simply broken in quite a resounding win, 39 points in the end, and BDT really didn't fire a shot, and Pinaroo, they just took the opportunities right from the get-go. Just a wonderfully talented team. I was just looking through the list. I know they wrote their best players, but I picked a few out that I thought played really specific roles for them, not just in the grand final, but throughout the season. And I ended up nearly with the whole list. They were a complete unit from number 1 to 21, and just a wonderfully talented team, and thoroughly deserved premiers in the Mallee for 2022.
Yeah, and when you look at the next level of player, Christian Vince's second half of the year, he has dominated around the midfield. It's allowed Rory O'Driscoll, who we know's had a bung shoulder, it's allowed him to go forward and not have to be that hard, big-bodied midfielder that takes that first grunt possession, I guess if you're talking about it, the Clayton Oliver type role. Vince has picked that up. It's allowed Moroney to streak away from the pack with his pace, and they've been able to get the first use out of the middle so quickly because Vince has provided that first big body possession.
Yeah, you're spot on, Flo, man. Ever since his trip to the Darwin Cup, he was in scintillating form. So whatever happened up there, it was really good for him. But he's a dynamic player, so hard to match up on, so strong in the hips, over the ball, hard to tackle. But then he pops up and he'll take a few ruck contests, but then he'll slip forward and he can hold down centre half forward. Just a wonderful second half of the season, like you said, and thoroughly deserved to be best on ground because he truly was outstanding that day.
Yeah, I tell you what, this other Jed Villas, I mean, there's three blokes that don't have any hair. There's Vince, there's Villas, and there's the old fella Baker. And then you take that bloke down the back line called Jordan, and he is one river that no one is going to get across. And I'll tell you, this is a dynamic side, and I know that I make some light there because I know how excited the people are to hear me talk about this side. But when I saw them in the prelim, and of course I was up the West Coast for their grand final, so I didn't get to see the Grandy here. I watched the video that Bruce had put together, and all I could say was I couldn't see how BDT were going to break through even after they led at quarter time. It just seemed to me that the body size of Pinaroo was just that fraction bigger, stronger, faster and jumping higher, and I felt that BDT were going to get thumped, and in the end I thought BDT did well to stay as close as they did.
You're probably right there, Flo, man, absolutely. After that second quarter, it was 6 goals they kicked, but there was a peppering of points as well. So that was a huge momentum shift with the wind. I mean, the wind played a role in the game, in all games throughout the day, but they really capitalised on that. And there was no turning back from the second quarter. And you're right, just, Hyde had an outstanding game as well, and he didn't end up in the best players. And credit to him as coach for these last 3 or 4 years that he's been doing it and pulling this team together and continuing to strengthen it. Quite often you lose a few talented players and they're hard to replace, but they've continued to increase the capacity of that unit, and just a wonderful outfit.
Yeah, they are. And it's not, it's they go from 14 to 17. You get to 10, 11, 12, teams drop off. They go through to 14, 15, 16, 17. And, they're guys that are their lesser lights, perform and do their role. I guess it's that old adage. But, the Tom Klingbergs are there, the Tommy Howards, those Shiloh Dabinets, they're sort of like just doing their role. Tommy Werfel is a star out of that back pocket. Seth Nassif's got that, and that gnarliness that causes the opposition to want to hit him, and that gets everyone riled up and starts a bit. And when that happens, you just know that they've got your mind, and I think that's where they were doing so beautifully well. But well played to BDT's Lockie Richardson. I've loved his work for a long time, and he continues to star. Nathan Stark's a great player. I love Jaron Crabb, and I do like the look of this Hamish Dow, this young kid. Jaden Ward too. I think you've got some great players coming together for the Coorong Cats. Okay, let's get to the reserves, because it was the Murrayville, I don't call them Bulldogs, the Murrayville Maulers. They've mauled everybody in the last few weeks in the twos, and they've won the premiership. And are they excited? 8-7, 55 to 5-4, 34 against a dogged and good Lamoureux side.
Oh, absolutely. I think young Dabby and the Seas, the boys are still down the local pub, I think, celebrating the win. So they had an outstanding start to the game, kicking a couple of goals into the wind. You know, like I mentioned, it was a challenging breeze at times, and that really sort of set the standard for them. And then credit to Lamoureux, they did claw back well and truly into the game. It was quite a tussle until the third quarter, where the Murrayville boys got on top and kept Lamoureux just to that one goal with the breeze, and that gave them an opportunity for their backs to lock down that last half, and particularly Grant Bailey was outstanding. What an asset to have come back into your team late in the season. Also, Chicken Crane, he went forward a bit, but he was all over the ground. And young Darcy Crane as well. He topped off an outstanding year after winning the medal, and was in the best players, and he's always a reliable contributor, but he's a silky B grader, and probably too talented to be in the Bs. He probably could be up in the ones, but just a wonderful young lad and deserves to win. Brantford Wright, I reckon he probably played 35 games for the season.
Yeah.
Out the A's and Bs each time he played, and well deserved for him to be best player.
Oh, great stuff. I'll ask you in a moment about Murrayville, but I'll get through all the games and the grades here, because we want to mention the kids too. The 16-year-olds, Murrayville 15,999, Pinaroo 3,422. Massive Murrayville. Absolute star-studded group of kids here. That was 10-8 to 1-3 at three-quarter time. This group of kids are very, very good.
Oh, you're spot on. The dominant team throughout the year, we've talked about, we probably could have combined two or three teams, and that Murrayville would have still got over the top of them. But I think actually Pinaroo have done a wonderful job to stay in touch for it to only be a 12-goal win. Really, they could have blown that out to almost a 20-goal thumping. So, but like you say, it's about that group of kids, and they truly are wonderfully talented. And you look across the board, and they don't just kick to one full forward, they rotate around as well. So there's quite a few of them that kick goals. So young Harvey Crane, he got amongst it with 4, and Zach Kelly, the captain, had an outstanding year, and he got 4 goals as well. And they share it nicely.
9 players on the score sheet. You make a good point. And those two kids, fantastic footballers that led the way for them, Crane and Kelly. And the 13s, and what a lovely sight it is to see a Pinaroo side win the juniors 11-9-75, Karoonda 1-1-7. It's been a grade which BDT dominated, and then Lamoureux had some good years, but this is great. Pinaroo have really been the measuring stick of kids coming through at the 13-year-old age group.
Yeah, you're right. They've been very strong for a couple of years, haven't they? And this group is definitely, I would say, in my personal opinion, that it's one of the best that they've dished up. And we've talked about the way they go about their footy a little bit this year. And, Jack Nichols, he's going to be an outstanding talent, and we wish him all the best, whatever he does with his footy in the future. He's got plenty of time to think about that, but he also goes up into the under-16s and has a significant impact in that grade. So he's a wonderful talent. And young Ethan Hyde and Jacob Daniels, and one of my favourites here, young Chase Westphalen, because he's got that intensity and intent that you just can't teach kids. And the younger ones would learn a lot from him, just watching the way he puts the ball up, and then chases it up, gets it back, and just a running machine. He's going to be a wonderful lad to watch later in life.
Yes, he will be, and I loved it. Jack Nichols 4, Brock Nichols 2. That name's synonymous. Ethan Hyde in the side, the Westphalen boys, Bosley, couple of Dabinets, and then down to the list, a Kinnaird, and then a Moyle, and then another couple of Nichols, and then a Schroeder. Oh, it sounds like yesteryear coming back to Pinaroo.
Yeah, it does indeed. You're right about that. And, some of them have still been going, so it's only recently they've hung up the boots. But, talented lads, and they've got talented kids and got some wonderful mentors there as well.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, last point. Mallee Football. Everyone's talking about what's going to be of next season. We just heard earlier in the netball report and from Nicole, and it does appear that there won't be a Mallee League next year. And now that we've finished a season, it's a terribly difficult topic to discuss, and folk will hang on every word we possibly say. But I mean, a comment from you on the nature of it, because we've both loved Mallee football. We've covered it for 20 years. You've been part of it for the last plus 20 years. So just a quick comment, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely, Flo, man. It is a sad day, really, and I genuinely feel sorry for those communities out there that have been duped, essentially. They've been led into a false sense of security of the viability of the current format of the Mallee Football Association. And basically, it's really disappointing that there's been a lack of capacity of leadership in the MFL at the top, and they've failed to foster a conversation that could steer all the clubs. All their constituents needed to be heard, and they've failed to hear for the last 18 months that there needed to be a stronger emphasis put into the sustainability reviews for each of the clubs. I mean, at the last delegates meeting we went to, when we were asked to leave halfway through, they were still trying to work out what some of the clubs needed to stay in the competition. And as simple as Croonah, they just needed 16 aside would have been enough to encourage them to possibly try and stay on again. But they couldn't even vote to come back to 16, let alone the fact that nearly majority of our games this season have been played with 16. We don't play 18 on the ground that often anymore, sadly. So simple decisions like that have just failed to read the room. And there's been a failure to lead that back across to all the clubs. So some of them have been blindsided by this because it's been a conversation on the table for 18 months and we just have not dug into it deep enough to hear an open and honest and transparent conversation. It's a sad day.
It's a tough one too, because now we start to look at, say, Murrayville. What do they do? I can tell you that the Olive Branch in Victoria will be out to Murrayville. There is no doubt about the United Kangaroos. The Underbull connection is strong. You know, you get to Tutty or Linger, and you start to linger with or think of which one you go back from Tutty the other way. Kids from out of Murrayville could end up playing over in the Sunraysia next year. So it's a huge thing. And then, of course, the other clubs, do they amalgamate, come into the River Murray? Do they go to the Riverland, or do they end up in the Murray Valley, the new independent league? There's a lot of decisions and discussion to be made, Ben. You put your point frankly, and I know that there'll be those that will disagree with that, but ultimately it's a day where it's our final footy show, and we just wanted to say and make the time available on that particular topic that for me, covering this wonderful league, which I've absolutely loved. I sponsored an award from as early as we could get an award up for the Football of the Year award virtually in, I think, 2004 we may have started that, and I'm just absolutely thankful to everybody in the Mallee, and whatever happens, I love the Mallee League, and I know that you do, and I know that Rocket at Lameroo does, and I know that Wade at Pinaroo does, and I know that my friends down at Karoonda, and lots of them there, and Peak too, a lot of folk that know me well there. We all love it. And whatever happens, I'm going to be so disappointed if this league does go, and it does seem like it will.
Yeah, your words are spot on, Flo, man. And I would just like to extend on behalf of the Mallee, thanks for your overwhelming support and energy that you give to our competition, and also to just wider sport across our state. I think it's a personal pleasure for you to dig in and have a crack, but it's above and beyond what you've offered us and what you do for our communities across the region. So we appreciate your support and your input. So thank you very much.
That's very nice words and very kindly spoken, Ben Hooper, and to the other guys that have spent so many years with me on air. Rocket Rodney Maynard is just a great exponent of football and wonderful umpire, and to everybody else in the Mallee regions, I just want to say a big thank you, and let's hope and pray that everyone can get and find a place to go next year, and we'll be right in the centre of it, whatever place that is, calling and bringing your local game because we love it and we do appreciate you as people. And on that note, and on your very kind words, you have a terrific weekend, and I know that we're going to be, of course, commemorating Queen Elizabeth next Monday night, but we'll certainly be thinking of everyone through the Mallee in what is a tough time. Thanks, Ben, for your time.
Thanks, Logan.